So I binged all of Sonic Frontiers when it came out, and I loved the experience. It's probably a top 3 Sonic game for me, and definitely my favorite Sonic game in the last decade. Not like there was much competition, but anyways. Even with that said, the game definitely isn't perfect, and amongst its issues, one stands above the rest. At least to me. But, to you too. I know you had issues with this too, you cannot lie to me. My name is Josue, welcome to the Panic Brothers channel, and I'm really sick and I'm in the middle of moving, so forgive me for not being able to properly record this video the way that I usually do, but for now, enjoy the video. As fun as Sonic Frontiers is and can be, like I mentioned earlier, there are definitely issues with the game, and I know I'm far from the only person who experienced said issues. The first pretty big problem that I'm sure everyone has already complained about ever since the game came out is that really bad pop-in. Yeah, other games have this problem as well, but they have ways of masking it to a degree. Not to mention, other games will likely not have a game so reliant on its environment for it to really be an issue as well. And, of course, other games aren't Sonic. In Sonic Frontiers, Sonic can literally get from point A of a giant map to point B in literally a couple of seconds, especially with the rings maxed out and your speed leveled up. I know it must have been really difficult to really dance around this pop-in issue, especially since it seems this game had to be optimized to run properly on the Nintendo Switch, which kind of killed the potential it might have had on the PS5 or the Xbox Series. It's a pretty big issue, and you can't help but notice it every single time it occurs. It's bad. It's pretty bad. I mean, even without the going fast issue mentioned earlier, it can just happen while casually stepping. It can take you out of the immersion pretty fast, so yeah, the pop-in, pretty bad. But not the worst part of Sonic Frontiers. Another bad aspect I absolutely hated was randomly running around the map and suddenly finding yourself locked in a 2D section meant for memory tokens. I have zero issues with these sections when I intend to run through them, but there are times when you can find yourself just casually running and now you suddenly have no choice but to finish this section. Especially when this 2D section doesn't really have a place for you to get out of naturally. This wasn't much of an issue in the first and second zones, but Chaos Island was horrendous with this. It was everywhere and it instantly made Chaos Island the hardest and my most annoying zone to navigate. But with that said, these 2D sections are not the worst part of Sonic Frontiers. Now let's stick to Chaos Island for just a little bit longer. This zone is without a doubt my least favorite in the game for a couple of reasons. The terrain shifts so much and it's insanely difficult to get from point A to point B. I heard that in the game's internal data, Chaos Island actually seems like it was supposed to be the last area of the game apparently, which I honestly could believe. If you're going to make an island this hard to navigate, it might as well be the endgame zone. But nah, it's actually right in the middle of the game. It can be a frustrating experience, and just when you finish grabbing all of the Chaos Emeralds, and you want to take down the Night Titan, you are greeted with what is the absolute worst part of Sonic Frontiers. Pinball. Yo, I don't even hate pinball, but this is a disaster. The momentum of the ball is wildly inconsistent to the point that you sometimes have little to no actual control of the ball with the bumpers. You can easily experience hitting the ball and see it go nuts across the screen. However, another time you can hit it the exact same way in the exact same spot, the way you did before, and it goes nowhere. You're required to get 5 million points in order to pass the game and move on to the boss of the zone, but to collect 5 million points is almost actually literally impossible unless you collect a bunch of red coins, which acts as a points multiplier. Things can get a lot easier once you get to a 64 times or a 128 times multiplier, but it's impossible to get that high of a multiplier as you have no control over losing the ball. It can just randomly go down the sides of the pinball multiplier and you have to start from the very beginning again. I'm recording this on my phone. I needed to let you know that this level took me over an hour to complete. Over an hour. And I knew I wasn't the problem. I wasn't the problem. It was the game. The game would just choose to glitch out or just honestly fuck me over whenever it wanted to. And obviously some parts of pinball are like, due to luck, but Not in Sonic Frontiers. Sonic, of course, has a history with pinball dating all the way back to the Sega Genesis. I'm confident that this Sonic Frontiers minigame is a direct homage to this history, but if you're gonna reference any game in Sonic's history, don't reference one of the hardest Sonic games to have ever released. Sonic Spinball has great graphics and decent music, but the game is hard. I only ever managed to get a little far into the game with the help of the playback option on Nintendo Switch Online, and even then, it's still hard as fuck. Of course, Sonic got a much better pinball game in the form of Sonic Pinball Party much later on the Game Boy Advance, but I don't think it's left enough of a positive impact to warrant bringing this back to Sonic Frontiers, and somehow make it worse too. How did a GBA game do it better? Not to mention, the fact that it's required to progress the game itself also just makes the pinball section even more aggravating than it needs to be. This level kind of actually reminds me of the Pachinko level from Super Mario Sunshine, one of my favorite games of all time. Honestly, it's probably top 5 video game for me, but I can't defend that Pachinko level. It's near impossible to complete and it's a bad time for everyone. You can't even try to lie to me and say you like that level. But the difference between Sunshine's Pachinko level and Frontiers' Pinball is the Pachinko level is optional. It's really only necessary if you want to go for 100% completion. In Frontiers, you cannot move forward whatsoever in the game until you complete this level. And because of that, that makes this pinball segment the worst part of Sonic Frontiers. I feel pretty confident that a lot of people are going to say that the worst part of the game is actually that really bad Galaga minigame for a last boss, which I can definitely believe. I played the game on normal mode, so I actually wasn't able to experience that. I actually had no idea about it until I went online afterwards and heard people talk about it. I can definitely see that being a very anticlimactic way to end the game, so pretty big contender for worst part of Sonic Frontiers. But please let me know, was there anything else in the game that aggravated you? What was your least favorite part of Sonic Frontiers? You know, something that made you want to quit the game, throw the controller, just scream? I have a long history of Sonic the Hedgehog. I've been playing my entire life, and I know almost every single game has moments like that where it just can get so aggravating. But yeah, let me know in the comments. I'm trying to do more Sonic Frontiers content. So until next time, I'll catch you guys later.